Well, with the Christmas holidays approaching, this is my final guitar build video where I set out to build a Telecaster relic style guitar that would rival my Fender Custom Shop guitars. Now, the finished guitar, it looks, as far as I'm concerned, it looks the part. It plays very, very well, and it does sound like a Fender Telecaster. Now, if you haven't followed my guitar build project series, you'll find that it illustrates in detail just about everything you'd want to know about building perhaps your own relic Telecaster style guitar. Now, this video takes the whole series and compresses it down into a very quick yet detailed overview of the project from start to finish. Enjoy. So stage 1, planning and choosing all the parts with the foundation at the heart of the guitar build project, the body and the neck. Now, the body is a 3-piece roasted alder T-style body by Guitar UK, and here I check that the accessories align with the pre-drilled holes. Here we have a roasted flame maple neck with Indian rosewood fretboard, and again checking for fit and alignment. Up at the headstock, it's important to check the tuning pegs and ferrules fit correctly, and here you can see I've chosen a truss rod adjustment at the headstock. Stage 2, preparation for spraying. The roasted alder does not need grain filling, so saving time. Due to the thickness of the pickup wiring needed, I had to countersink one body hole and drill out the bridge cavity to control board wiring hole. The jack socket plate hole also needed its circular edge to be chamfered. Here a body support batten is screwed into the neck pocket, leaving room for overspray to overlap the edges. When sanding or spraying, it's important to wear a protective mask and clothing. Here I'm dry sanding the body with 400 grit. The fretboard is taped up to keep it safe. The first spray material to be used is sanding sealer, which is shaken well before use. Keeping the spray nozzle clear by inverting the tin after use. The body holes are blocked up and the body is given a gentle rub down with wet and dry sandpaper. The neck and headstock are also given a light dry sand using 2000 grit paper. The neck pocket and neck end are taped off to avoid the spray primer and lacquer coats. The body is given 3 coats of nitrocellulose grey primer. Which is left to dry out for a week. In total, the body received 6 coats of primer. First and second coats of amber nitro lacquer are applied to the neck and headstock. The rosewood fretboard was sealed with Danish oil, which required 3 coats, 6 hours between coats, rubbing the oil in after each coat. Stage 3, the metallic colour coat. With the body given a light dry sand with 800 paper, the first nitro colour coat is a misting coat. This is followed by 2 further coats and then left to dry for 3 hours. And then I gave it 3 coats of clear lacquer. Next up are the various headstock water slide transfers. As you can read, the guitar is christened Bluebird. The headstock is given a gentle dry sanding with 1500 grit paper cutting out the serial number first, aligning with masking tape as a straight edge, and carefully sliding the transfer into position. The same is done again for the main logo, and once done, the neck is set aside for the transfers to thoroughly dry out. Next day I spray a couple of light coats of amber lacquer over the transfers to give them an aged look, and this is then set aside to dry out. Stage 4. The accessories to be used and the aging process of both nickel and chrome parts. Accessories electrical. First up are a set of Fender Telecaster Custom Shop Texas Special pickups at £142 and a fully loaded Fender Telecaster control plate, and these can be put together from £30 to £100. Aftermarket control knobs at £5.50 and a selector tip at £1.50. Vintage wire was purchased at £5.50 and a Switchcraft jack socket at £6.49 and an all parts electrosocket fixing plate for £5.49. And I'll be using Ruston's G-Shield for the body cavities. This was £7.99. Now, body accessories hardware. An aged Fender string-through body bridge plate at £21.95. Aged Fender bridge plate screws at £2. Aftermarket aged body string ferrules at £5.50. Go-to brass compensated bridge saddles at £19.99. Aged Fender body strap buttons and screws at £6.99. Fender neck body backplate and screws at £18.99. An aftermarket pickguard at £9.99 and aged pickguard screws at £3. Go-to aged step tuning pegs with ferrules and screws at £52. A Hosco 7.5 radius pre-cut bone nut at £10.95. An aged Fender vintage string tree and a choice of screws at £2.85 and headstock transfers at £25.98. So next up is tarnishing metalwork. Once again, take great care with health and safety. Using the vinegar salt vapor method to tarnish nickel plate and sulfuric acid vapor to deal with chrome. Stage 5. Time to relic the neck and headstock. Now this begins by scraping the fretboard sides with a sharp blade and then sandpaper to round off those edges. Periodically checking the feel of the neck as I go along. The fret ends, which are already pretty good, are also given a light sanding. The fretboard is given a light sanding to improve feel under the fingers. Turning now to the cosmetic relic looks, I start to carefully scrape away at the edges of the headstock, using the sharp blade, a scraper and a spanner to create indents. Using a wood dye to stain and give an aged look to the exposed maple. Moving to the back of the neck, I'm using various grades of paper to get that worn-in feeling that will help make the neck a joy to play. Taping up the fretboard once again, it's time to give the whole neck several coats of clear lacquer. Stage 6. Time to relic the body using a Fender Custom Shop Relic Telecaster for guidance. The finish is scraped and chipped away with the sharp blade and scraper, smoothing with sandpaper and adding dings with a spanner. Again, wood dye is applied to stain and age the exposed alder. Gently rubbing down with wet and dry 1500 sandpaper, removing the masking tape from the cavities and giving a light sanding so as to act as a key for the black conductive paint, which will be applied in 3 coats. The body is given a final 3 coats of clear lacquer and is set aside to dry for a month before a sand, cut, polish and buff. Stage 7. The neck and headstock gets ready for final finishing and accessories. Using 1500 to 5000 wet and dry sandpaper, the lacquer finish is flattened, and then I proceed with Maguire's cutting compound 105 with a sponge pad disc in a hand drill. Next up, Maguire's polishing compound 205, and this is followed by a clean buffing pad. Now this process is repeated 2 more times, and the same is now done on the front of the headstock. The back of the neck is given further sanding treatment to get that super slick feel, and then cut, polished and buffed. The neck is positioned in the body, and the neck pocket and the fixing holes are drilled to the correct depth. The tuning peg ferrules are a press fit into position, and the tuners are carefully screwed into place. The bone nut has its excess inner lip removed, and a test fit is checked on the 7.5 radius fretboard. Stage 8. Time to sand, cut, polish and buff the body, followed by lacquer checking and fitting all the accessories. After blocking the body holes, this is rubbed down with a number of grades of wet and dry with soapy water. Once the surface anomalies have been flattened, it's time to use the cutting compound 105, which is followed by the polishing compound 205, and then buffed to a shine. This is done twice more before turning over and repeating the same process on the front of the body. Using a hairdryer to warm areas of lacquer, this is then blasted with cold compressed air, freezing the lacquer. Now the effect is subtle, but in the following weeks the aged distressed finish does look quite convincing. Time to fit the accessories, starting with the back body string ferrules, followed by the strap buttons. Soldering wires to the input jack socket and fitting the holder to the body side. Fitting the neck to the body. And drilling holes for the bridge plate, allowing the pickguard and control plate to be aligned correctly. Before fitting the pickguard, this is rubbed down with 7000 grit paper to remove the shine. The pickups are fitted with the screws and rubber sleeves. Fitted into the body. Wired up and tested. And here you see the earth wire placed under the bridge plate, and then all the parts are screwed down into place. Finally, the control knobs and tip switch are fitted, and the brass compensated bridge saddles are also put into position, awaiting a setup. Stage 9. Before the guitar is set up, the final item is delivered that will complete the build project, a Fender vintage style hard case, and of course it's in blue. With the help of a Fender toolkit, the guitar is now set up, starting with the strings, using 10 to 48 gauge strings, and once they're on, the last part is fitted, and that being the little string tree. Checking the neck relief and adjusting the truss rod to get an 8 to 10 thou gap between the string and the 7th fret. String height is set to get a standard action setting. Intonation is set using a Polytune 3 guitar tuner. Now a wee trick is to slacken and then tighten the neck bolts to ensure a tight neck body fit when under string tension. Pickup height is set, and finally the nut slot height is checked against holding down at the 3rd fret. In section 10A, the guitar was compared against 3 other Fender built guitars and a full rundown of all the costs involved. In section 10B, I answered various questions asked about the build project, so do check that out. In the final section 11, I choose to change out the pickups, and the Texas Specials were exchanged for a set of Fender Pure 64s, and here is a quick side-by-side comparison. So there you have it, and if you're looking to build something similar to this type of guitar, I do recommend that you watch the actual project build series, which you can find on my channel playlists, and that's under Custom Build Guitar Project. Now if you've got any questions or you want to chip in regarding your own views and opinions, do please message below, and of course you can always message me privately if you'd like to. Next up will be another effects pedal change out, so stay tuned for that. And please do think about subscribing, hit the bell to get notifications, like and share. As always, it really does help the channel out, and I really do want to thank all of you who have done that this year. It has been such a big help to the channel. It's much appreciated. do check out my channel playlists over the Christmas holidays, because that covers my journey back to playing and recording guitar after a 40-year break. And there's lots of equipment reviews as I seek out the gear I'm going to be using in my recording this coming new year, hopefully. So whether you're a newcomer, an ongoing player, or like me, an old hand returning to guitar playing, well, I always take time to engage with folks who take time to comment. So please do comment below. So until next time, the journey continues. Do take care.